Hey, we want to welcome everybody to the latest Denny Artachi Show podcast. Great guest today, Janine. Is it Tilford, your last name?
Yeah, Tilford.
Yes. I've known her as Casey Rains. We share some things in common. She's a musician and entertainer as well. But I got to tell you, your story is amazing. So, folks, Janine has been a school teacher for how many years?
10 years.
10 years, okay. She is an entrepreneur in the truest sense because she has her own company called, get this, Toad Busters. So your company is formed on removing poisonous toads throughout South Florida, right?
Yes.
My first question is, how in the hell did you get the idea to do this?
So first I was a teacher. That was a great job. I was an environmental science teacher.
Okay.
And I was into all kinds of animal stuff, which was cool. Before that, I used to import reptiles, and I used to go catching snakes and frogs and everything, and I noticed that there was more and more invasive species out there. And then I worked as a veterinary technician in a pet emergency, and we had people bring in their dogs that had bit the toad and died, or we would have them in, and it would cost them over $1,000. And they'd ask me, they're like, well, what can we do about this? And there was no answer. I was like, you're going to have to go out and remove the toads or kill them yourself, and nobody wants to do that. They don't want to do that. But on the other side, they don't want to lose their pet either. So I kept telling myself there's something to this. There's a potential for a business here. And as a teacher, not making a great salary, and then having the band just barely managing and a single mom, I was like, I have to do something else. And the only time I had was at nighttime. So, I started the business. We started it up, and I think it was in March. And in 2 months, I already had like 20 clients, and we ended up the year with about 250 by the time I was done.
I remember you first saw, because obviously I've helped a lot of teachers through the years. I mentor students, and I would see you at your school, and you said, hey, Denny, I've got this great idea that's really taking off. I said, what? I said, by the way, your show was great the other night. And so you were like, oh, yeah, but I got this new idea. And I go, yeah, what's that? Yeah, I'm going to remove toads, because I said, oh, so you're going to be jumping into bushes? And like, how do you get them? It's not like you have a whistle like you go hunting, right? How do you catch toads?
So it actually sounds like it's more difficult than it is.
Well, yeah. I mean, they hop around. It's not like they're waiting for you to say, hey, Janine, here I am.
Yeah. Well, it kind of is that way.
Really?
So like at night, they're nocturnal. So they come out at nighttime. If you have dogs, they're actually more into the yard because they actually dog poop. It's pretty gross, but if you look at how it started, there's bugs on the dog poop, so they're attracted to the bugs, and then it just clicks that they just eat the bugs with the dog poop. And so if you have a pet, they're more apt to be in your yard. If you have lights on, we call those little lights around the house Taco Bell, McDonald's, Burger King, because the bugs go right
This
through
is
the lights.
really exciting and sexy, I got to tell you. Can you imagine? Say, so what do you do for a living? Oh, I catch frogs.
You should see how many guys I got.
How long have you been doing this now?
7 years.
All right, 7. Folks, she started off with 20 or 40 clients. You wouldn't guess. You're up to what? 4,000?
4,000.
4,000 clients. I didn't think there were that many poisonous frogs out here.
Oh, it'll never stop.
It'll never stop. So you're no longer teaching. This has taken off so much. You've got employees. I was invited to the luncheon that we had, and I talked to your employees about their financial stuff. And it's interestingly enough, when COVID hit, while your business actually grew.
Yeah, because, I don't know if you remember, but you were stuck at home, right? So a lot of people were bored. They were buying dogs. They were getting puppies. This is the time they were like, oh, well, I'm working from home now. I can have a dog. So more people were buying dogs, and we were considered pest control. So we didn't get shut down. And literally we grew. And when I first started...
I'm just laughing because I'm imagining that you're chasing frogs.
Yes, it is. It's great. Like, that's how I met my boyfriend. I just took him out on a toad collection. And
that's it. And you had him at Toad. Exactly. That's awesome.
They're like, yeah, really, what do you really do? Like,
no, this is what I do. Would you like to see my bank statements?
Yeah, it was crazy though.
So, okay. You have a website, right? Mm-hmm. And it's Toad. Is it
Toadbusters.com.
Toadbusters.com. So, folks, I bet a lot of you listening out there, especially in Florida, probably have a toad problem. And if you have dogs, is there a number they can call?
Yes, we have our 800 number, which I don't have.
You don't have it on you?
Yeah,
Okay.
if you go to the website at www.toadbusters.com, it has all the information there. You can get in touch with us there. We can set you up. We not only do the toad catching now, we actually started a company called Pet Protect Fence.
Okay.
And that fencing is what goes onto your existing fence, and it keeps the toads out of the yard. So not only do we provide you the service of, taking the toads out, we actually can keep them from coming in the yard. So you can feel more secure taking your dog out at nighttime.
I guess it's a big problem. A lot of dogs die from biting or getting exposed to toads,
They
right?
just have to touch it. They just have
And
to
that's
get it
it.
on their mouth. I've had a small Maltese that didn't go after anything. She just walked it, and somehow it stepped on a toad, came into the house, started licking its paw, and it had the toxin on its paw and had a seizure from the toxin. And they didn't figure that out till later, that he actually had stepped on a toad, and the toxin got on the foot, even though he didn't go after it. They almost lost a dog.
You know what's so amazing? No one's thought about this business model prior to you. I've never heard of a company but when you think about it, it's a serious problem. If you have a
It's huge.
community that's got water and let's say, 200, 300 units in it, houses, and you better believe. And so how do you know if a toad is poisonous? Because there's probably a few different types in Florida, right?
Well, we have two that are native. We have the spadefoot toad. Well, two that are close to the bluefoot toad. We have another one, an oak toad, but it's small. We have the spadefoot toad and the southern toad. And then those guys look a little bit different than
Okay.
our bufo toads, but I can tell you that the majority of South Florida, the bufo toads are so aggressively taking over because they have a faster gestation period. They're toxic even in the egg form, so there's really not a lot of predators out there to cut the numbers down, that they pushed all of our native stuff either farther west into the forested areas, because the bufo toads prefer to live with us because life is easy. We have
Okay.
a lot of lights. It attracts the bugs. They're super lazy. So they're not actively out there to get your dog, but they're toxic, so they don't have to worry. So they just lay there.
I guess the first thing that comes to mind for those listening is how do you find out if they're there? Someone says, "Hey, I've got a couple of dogs. I'm concerned." What do? You have someone that dresses up like Rambo and sits at night and looks for them.
Well, I don't know if you've ever gone out at nighttime and been underneath by your door. They go by the garage, by the front door. People, it's kind of like one of those things. Like if you're not aware of it, you don't see it, right?
No,
but
I have seen them.
the minute I show you, then it becomes. And if you see them and you don't have a dog and you're not concerned about it, actually, I have clients that don't have dogs, but the toad's poop so big, we call them, like, it can put a grown man to shame. Like, I've had people think the neighbor let their chihuahua loose on the deck.
And it's the frog.
And it's the toads. Yeah, and they go into the pool, so the pool companies catch me. I've been driving down the road and actually at a red light, and, next night I have a pool guy run up to me, to grab cards because, he's like, man, I'm tired of cleaning this toad poop out of the...
So, communities, pools, typically your clients have you come, every couple of weeks?
Yeah, we recommend every 2 weeks.
Every
It's
2
a pretty
weeks.
good thing.
Okay.
So we remove they're territorial. So once we take them out of the area, new ones can move in. But we're just constantly evicting the new guys that are coming in.
I mean, what do you do with the toads? Do you sell them to a French restaurant and they cut off the legs?
Little toads in wheelchairs.
Yeah, exactly right. Frog legs.
Yes.
No, you exterminate them, right?
Yeah, it's illegal. First of all, they're an invasive species. They originated from South America.
Are you going to have animal rights activists really mad at you because you're killing poisonous toads?
No, you know what? We follow the guidelines of the University of Florida and IFAS. So we work with Fish and Wildlife. We put them to sleep first, just as if you were going to have surgery, and they're asleep, and then they go in the freezer.
But how do you catch them?
Denny, I can put one on the table right here. We can get through the whole podcast, and it'll probably just sit there the entire time.
I probably would.
So at nighttime, we don't start till it's dark. And
Okay.
they come out of the burrows. They live up underneath the roots of the grass and then the plants and anything else you got out there, your barbecues and patio furniture. And as soon as it gets dark, they come out to feed. So once they come out, they're focused on feeding. and we just catch them. So it doesn't.
Okay.
It's not a difficult thing to do. It's actually quite easy.
Is there a certain price point that can you talk pricing, or everybody's individual, how big their house is?
It's general, pretty much for most houses. It's $75 a visit.
Okay.
That we come out. There is an initial consultation fee, which we come in with at the beginning, and that includes us going over the process of what happens to your dog if you do get into one, how to help them, what to do. We've now included, we've got a new kit that's a treatment package. So like, say you decide to go to a dog park or go on a walk, you can take this backpack with you. So in case your dog does get into one, you're prepared to give yourself that extra 15 or 20 minutes to get to the emergency.
But it's interesting because now you don't just catch them now, but you're also setting up fences and stuff to stop them from coming in, right?
Yeah.
Because normal extermination, which I pay, for my house, is they zap it and all of a sudden they're running for cover and they're coming out initially. That's not what this is. You catch them, but once you feel you have it under control, you also put defenses so that more don't come in.
Well, the frustrating part is, say you have a dog, right? I don't know if you do or not.
I do.
Oh, you do. Okay, so if your dog goes after stuff, and you have to let them out at nighttime. A lot of people have become so neurotic with taking their dog out to go to the bathroom or for a walk, because if they go after stuff, I mean, they've got flashlights. It becomes like almost an anxiety of taking the dog out. And by putting the mesh in, we can remove everything inside and pretty much create a 98 to 99% chance that you're not going to run into one. Granted, it takes one bite to kill a dog, if they run into it. But by putting the barrier up, we put it in the ground, we seal off the gates. So unless the pool guy leaves the door open or the lawn guys do, or during baby season, because the babies are 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch long, they can kind of squeeze into some areas. But we've got it probably as sealed as possible.
I've seen toads or frogs leap pretty high. So your fence
this goes up 30 inches. So
that's I figured as much.
And they can't climb it. This particular mesh we use is to withstand the heat, withstand the sun, and it has no holes. They can't get finger holds in it.
Wow. So you're liking this much better than teaching, I see.
I can't say I love kids. So
I know you love kids.
Miss it. I was getting a little disappointed.
But they've changed so much for teachers. I still help so many.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, since COVID, have retired.
Yeah, they retired, or there was a lot of people that had these side jobs that, were kind of putting them on and didn't want to give it up. COVID kind of pushed you to do that. And, for me, I didn't want to stop teaching. I planned on teaching a little bit longer. I think I told you I didn't plan on doing this forever.
But it's taken off so much. You are the true entrepreneur. You started a business that who would have thought of that? But the light bulb went off when you saw how many dogs were dying from this. Mm-hmm. And now you have over 4,000. Besides Florida, what other states have this issue?
Texas, I believe, is starting to have a problem with the cane toads. Hawaii has a problem with the cane toads. So far,
you won't mind going to Hawaii, right? And
I'm working on that one. Actually, not only the cane toads, actually, the New Guinea flatworms was a huge thing. I think I was getting to tell you a little bit. That's the newest business.
Flatworms. So now you're going after flatworms.
Yeah. So basically, we had the toads, right? And we started with the toads, and we got to the fencing.
Yeah.
The fencing is just exploding. We're actually getting ready to now offer that nationwide. And sell it as a DIY so that you can put it up yourself to keep your dogs in and keep predators out, raccoons, coyotes. So you can install it on your fence in other states that you don't have the toad problem, but you definitely want to keep your pets safe from predators.
Right.
So we're doing that. But while I was catching toads, I noticed there was this leech-looking worm coming around, and did some homework and found out that this is a new invasive species. And I would say I'm probably the most knowledgeable on this particular worm at this point, because nobody knew what it was and what it was doing, but it came from New Guinea. It carries the rat lungworm parasite. So it's a lungworm. It gets into your system through either rat feces. It's transmitted from the flatworm to the snails.
I'm losing my appetite, folks.
We know frogs like that. But yeah, it got to be huge. And in Hawaii, they told the people to stop gardening because people were dying from this parasite. And we don't even know. We think that you could get the parasite just from the worm crawling over the
So
lettuce.
really, Janine, any state that has warm climate, that's where, this is not going to be a problem in cold states.
Right. But the toads are not an issue in cold states.
Wow. This is just going to continue to grow the more that people realize and see what's out there. And of course, I'm going to help you invest all that money you're making with, as you keep growing and you're hiring more people. And what would you say to people who think, I don't have a problem? I mean, statistically?
Statistically, if you're in South Florida, you're going to run into having your dog encounter a toad. I mean, and unfortunately, with COVID and the mass people moving in from other states, our business, the phone calls were off the charts because so many people came here. They're used to leaving their dogs out in New Jersey or New York or California. They don't worry about it. And we had so many calls where I don't know how many dogs were lost this year. It was so upsetting to me because they usually work with the news, and they do a little story for me once or twice a year. And I begged them during that time. I said, "Can you please put something out because there's so many people coming in and they don't know about this, and they were losing their dogs." I mean, I would say I had probably 100 clients. The new clients came to me just because they lost their first dog.
Is the price the same whether or not you have a $300,000 house or a $3 million house?
Same price. It does go up if you have over 2 acres and we're doing larger property. That becomes, and we do corporate accounts. So we work in some of the communities that have condos. We do work in Ocean Reef and Key Largo. So we're in a lot of the bigger communities. So what we found is if we can get to these big communities and do all the lakes, like say some of the bigger communities in Delray, 50% of the houses are on water. It's 50% water.
Yeah.
So it's an automatic breeding ground for the toads.
So that's another
Super
question.
easy.
It doesn't, we know it affects dogs, cats.
Birds, snakes.
Does it affect people?
Not really in the sense, as a kid, I don't know how many toads I picked up and played with.
I think if you eat a McDonald's, you're immune to
pretty much
poisonous
everything.
toads. You can.
You're not going to get the toxin's water soluble, and honestly, when you pick one up, the first thing they do is pee on you. So that's not toxin, and most people go, "Ew, gross," and drop it. But if they're not feeling threatened, they don't produce the toxin. But if you mess with them a bunch, I guess if a child were to get it on his hands and then eat something, technically, yes, it could be harmful, but we just haven't seen that. So I would say. It's definitely could be something if your kid's not afraid to grab frogs. I survived. I don't know. I didn't eat. I always wash my hands. But, I guess, if a little kid's out there playing with a frog and puts their hands in the mouth, they could get the toxin.
So besides this unbelievable new venture you have, you're still doing music, right?
I'm still writing. I've been writing and going back and forth to Nashville and did pretty well with some of the songs. I've pitched them out and won some international songwriting awards for some of my songs.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't pay as much as this business, does it?
It doesn't pay.
People just, you and I have discussed this because people know, obviously, I've been in some great projects and I still perform for fun. They have no clue how little you make. Playing music, even though we love to do it, right?
You love to do it, but you feel like you just. And then there's the days that you go there and there's 3 people, and then you're we called it paid practice. I guess
paid
you probably
practice,
do that too. But it was disappointing. And then the worst thing is when they say, "Why aren't you in Nashville? Why aren't you a star?" And people don't realize how difficult it is to even. Everything's changed. It's not like that anymore. You don't just go. They're like, "Oh, I want to pick you up and take you."
Right. You think just because you're going to go play somewhere, you're going to be discovered and be rich and famous. Now, you did tell me that you think you want to enter The Voice for next year, huh?
I'm gonna give it a shot this year.
Have you ever done The Voice?
I have not.
I thought about it a couple times too, but I'm like, I'm probably too old for that, man.
Okay, this is the way I see it. It's like we're probably both too old for it. They have the, and
do they have the old person's category in The
we
Voice?
Need the old person.
Yeah.
But I look at it in a couple ways. It's more of a marketing way to pitch out your music, anyways. And you know what? What do we got to lose?
You're right.
That's
You're
what I
right.
said about the toads. I'm like, what do I get to lose? I put $1,200 I invested initially.
That's
and
what
I said,
you
"Can
initially invested?
Yeah, I said, can I lose $1,200? And yeah, not really. I couldn't lose it, but I figured it was worth the risk of laying that out to start the company.
So it's interesting. When I first met you, you were juggling music, being a teacher, and then you started this
And a single mom.
and single mom, which is a full-time job. How old is your kid now?
He's 20.
Yeah, kid, right.
I had him when I was 5. I
And
just
look
wanted to
at
be clear
that.
about
This thought venture has worked out to be your breadwinner, your passion. The best part about this, look at all the people that you're helping.
It's extremely rewarding. Like it's like
Yeah.
you can't the feeling of providing that peace of mind for people. And I mean, I've met people that have like such an anxiety about this, and
Absolutely.
yeah, it is. If you lost a dog, I mean,
Yeah.
it breaks my heart every time I hear it because I love animals.
How
but-
quick does it happen if your dog's exposed to a poisonous toad? Like, how quickly would they die
Minutes.
from? Minutes.
Yeah, you have about 15 minutes. It depends on the size of the dog, how much toxin.
Well, most of the ones you hear dying are the small
The
ones.
little ones, yeah, because they a lot of times it's like, say you let your dog outside, they bit a toad, you're inside in the kitchen making dinner or whatever, and the dog's supposed to be going to the bathroom, and then you're like 20 minutes, 30 minutes later, you're like, where's Fluffy? And Fluffy's not there, and then you go out and he's already.
What can you do if your dog is exposed?
So the first thing you want to do is wipe the mouth out with a wet paper towel. You want to wipe the teeth, the gums, the tongue, everything as many times as possible. Always know where your pet emergency is. So I always tell keep that number handy because the 15 minutes you're scrolling through your phone trying to find one is not what you need to be doing at that point.
Right.
And then from that point on, you just the symptoms of it is understanding like what you're going to see when they come in. Their eyes dilate, they start salivating, they vomit, they'll eventually go into a seizure. It raises their body temperature, so they like get really hot. And then the seizure doesn't mean they're going to die, but that really puts it up there on how much toxin they ingested. So getting that out of their mouth as fast as possible, and then getting straight to the pet emergency is what we do. We do have a new package now that we have activated charcoal, so that can bind with whatever toxins left in the mouth or the gut and give you a few more minutes to get to the vet. So we started providing emergency kits for our clients.
So the website is toadbusters.com for all the Florida listeners. I think some of the people who listen to me in Europe are probably, I bet it's a problem over there too. I mean, it can't be
well,
just
they don't have the
indigenous to
toads,
Florida.
but the worms are
The worms.
The worm thing. It's
Oh, my
nation.
God.
It's actually worldwide. In France, they're decimating the earthworm population. So, and these worms are not. They don't even like react to most poisons. So we actually came up with. I worked with another teacher, a friend of mine, and in 3 weeks we came up with a solution that's non-toxic. Kills the worms on contact, has a residual effect to keep them away from areas that you don't want them. And so that we're just getting ready to release that. And nobody else was looking at that side of it. So, and this is huge. There's a guy that's who originally wanted 10,000 to discuss with him what we were doing. And then he did some research and he's called me almost every week.
So if they want to know more information, is the initial consultation free or?
No. The initial consultation is, I believe, $175 for the
Okay.
visit, and then we come out, we do the collection, and they'll talk to the technician, and from that point on, they kind of schedule what they think they need, whether you need it weekly for a while, or every 2 weeks, or once
Okay.
a month. And our prices are pretty standard as long as you keep service with us once a month.
A lot less cheaper than, what is it, $1,000, $1,500 to go to the vet because
Pet emergency.
your dog is vomiting and convulsing.
Or
and,
dying.
Or dying, right, yeah. Well, Toadbusters, it's that sexy company that just keeps growing and growing.
Who are you
And
gonna call?
who are you going to call exactly? Right, when you were with the Love Doctors, they kept busting your stones on that, calling who are you going to call?
Oh, they played all the music in the background.
They
They
did.
had a blast on that.
Well, look, I hope you do get in a voice. I hope you do that. You're not playing much anymore, are you? You're
No,
too
I'm just
busy.
writing. I just been going back and forth to Nashville recording. So
Yeah,
I keep
Nashville.
trying to get this guy to help.
I may have to. Nashville, I write many songs as well. I'd love to sell my songs to someone younger and has a more prosperous future musically than I do. Because, after a certain age, I guess in country it doesn't matter.
No, country, you've got a chance still.
You got a chance, right? But I'm a New Yorker. I can't sing country. That's like, if I could, I would.
But you could pitch your music. Who knows?
I could pitch the music,
goal.
right? Yeah.
I mean, it would. I wouldn't say I'd turn down a chance at
Absolutely
being
not.
somewhere. But on the other side, it's like if I can pitch my songs and Carrie Underwood picked one up or somebody like that.
Yeah, I'd like to be that guy who wrote the dance for Garth Brooks.
Yeah.
He did okay,
Yeah,
right?
he did all right.
Yeah, and Garth made it. But Nashville is still. I'm going to go to Memphis in January because I won the local
you
challenge.
did? Yeah.
So I'll be going there doing original blues, and Memphis is very cool. I went to Nashville some years ago, and I had to, but I actually performed at Tootsie's. And I cannot believe that you go there and these musicians are playing for tips.
Oh yeah.
Folks, not only are they playing for tips, they don't take breaks.
No, and
Because-
you don't get paid.
And right. So they'll play for like 5-6 hours straight so they can collect as much money as they can.
It's such a it's so discouraging when you really see what goes on. I mean, there are some bars that do pay. I mean, the guys that I work with and record with, they get paid. But I mean, I'm working with the guys that he's the guitar player for Billy Ray Cyrus and Love and Theft and.
But the guy pumping gas down the street could be a phenomenal guitar
Yeah.
player that you're like. It just goes to show it's not. It takes more than talent. You have to be lucky.
Yeah.
Right place at the right time. I do have one country song I'd like to sell that I think is a hit. It's called Why Can't We? And I wrote it years ago, but it's so relevant today because I don't talk politics on my shows, but we've become so polarized and so partisan and so much rhetoric. I hate to see it. This Army veteran would like people to talk to each other more. And so the song is about why can't we just get along?
Yeah.
So whether you brutalize the English language from the Northeast like I do, or where are you from originally?
Here.
You're
Born and raised in South Florida.
Man, she's rare again. A Floridian. You were just born to
Really unique.
Yeah.
I loved frogs. I was a big Kermit fan. Who knew that was my passion?
Right. And you look back.
I did.
You
I
loved
looked back
Kermit
and I had
then.
I had a whole frog collection.
You've got the green on today.
I did.
Is that-
I did that just for I did the whole thing for you.
Definitely no accident.
If anybody knows where to get Kermit the Frog decals for your nails, I need them.
Any nail people out there that can do Kermit the Frog, she'll give you a free consultation to get rid of your frogs. So listen, you are a true entrepreneur. I love to hear success stories like this. And you thought you'd finish your passion in teaching, but my God, that's changed so much the last few years. Music, we're always going to do you and I for fun.
Yeah.
We're not going to hold our breath on making a great big living on that. But I would not be surprised if you just keep exponentially growing and growing. I think what it is if more people knew that this was an issue, they would go, yeah, I think we could afford $150 a month because we have several dogs and we let them out all the time.
It is, and that's how it happens. Like people, people call me and I can't afford that. I'm not going to pay. But then something happens, and then they call me back, and they're like, okay, I should have listened to you. We should have done this because now, we lost our dog, or they've already, laid out $2,000 on the dog biting the toad, and then they're desperate. Then they're like, we want the fence up yesterday, But so
it is. There's no antidote or anything.
No, and the vets, we basically put them on fluids and give them stuff to help with the symptoms. And as long as we can do that and get them through the worst time.
So then what happens if they go to the vet and they're convulsing? What do the vets give them?
Well, they do some like anti-inflammatories to help the temperature go down. We give them fluids. There's some other medications that we give them that can help to reduce the fever. And, basically it's just treating them symptomatically.
But there's no, it's not like giving them an antibiotic or anything.
No, it's more antihistamine type thing to control the symptoms that are going on, but it's a scary thing. Like it's
an allergic reaction.
But it is toxin, so it's going through their blood system, and the the scary thing with this, it's so fast, and when you see the dog in the state, it actually makes you panic because. And I try to tell everybody that, like, you need to stay calm. It's just like if you had somebody had a heart attack. If you're panicking, you're not going to help the situation. So know what to do, in advance.
It looks like a politician that lost the election, right?
Yes, they're on the ground crying. I didn't say that, did I?
I'm sorry. I just want to shed light in a very serious subject because, my God, that's... And if it happens that quick, 15 minutes...
Yeah, it's super fast.
That's devastating.
Your pet is your child. I mean, my dog, if I lose we all inevitably lose our pets, but to lose them to something like that, it's just, it's heartbreaking. We don't like to hear it. It's, when we get calls and, they lost a dog, it upsets me every time. We want to do what we can to save them.
Well, I wish you... repeated and continued success. Toadbusters.com, ladies and gentlemen. You can call and you kind of know what the situation is. If you have pets, animals that you want to protect, I think that's very reasonable to have a peace of mind. And now you're doing the fencing as well.
Yep.
And so, hey, great to have you. And we'll talk about doing some music.
That sounds like a plan.
And thanks for tuning in on Denny Artachi's show. Who knows what my next guest will be about? I like to mix it up, and it can't just be about money and stuff like that. So today's Friday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.